Welcome to another episode of the Mark Jackson Show. I'm Mark Jackson. That's the dynamic one, my guy Blue. From the Come and Talk to Me Network. Shout out Cam and Mace. We got a very special guest today, Blue. But let's first pay some bills.
I got you, Pops. What's up, y'all? Shout out to our sponsors, Underdog Fantasy. Go ahead and click the link in the description. They are matching a first-time deposit of up to $1,000, and you'll also get a special pick. Don't forget to use the promo code MARK. That's M-A-R-K. Once again, that's the promo code MARK. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Come on, Pops, bring it. It's a big day. Let's go.
I got to read. It's too extensive, his resume. Revolutionized the game of basketball. 11-time NBA All-Star, 2-time ABA champ, NBA champ with the Philadelphia 76ers, named one of the 50 greatest basketball players of all time. His influence is undoubtable. In 2004, Sports Illustrated voted him one of the 40 most impactful players in sports history. That's not just basketball. That's impact the nation, the world, including me. I'm honored and privileged to have the great Dr. J, Julius Erving, on board. What's up, Doc?
Hey, we're good. We're good, brother. We're good. Nice to be on with you. Great to support your show. And, we haven't run into each other that much, but we have at different times over the years, and from one New Yorker to another. Nothing but props.
Well, thank you so much. I tell you what, when I thought about having the show, one thing I wanted to do was sit and chop it up with people, also have point of views with different topics. But the most important thing to me was to have people on that have impacted me, influenced me, so I can personally, not one-on-one, but show the world and say thank you for your impact. And I'm sure I speak for millions of folks.
Well, if you can be an influencer these days, then they give you your flowers right away. And the way in which I think I influence people is just by keep breathing, get up and out, keep a busy schedule. There's certain places that I like to go to, so I frequent very, very, very often. Philly and New York are two of those cities. For me, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so Wheels Up is down here, and Delta's down here, and we can go just about anywhere without having to make a stop or two. So that's made my life a lot of fun, and it's made it very enjoyable. Many times I go with my nephew, Barry Bookard. Sometimes I go with my son, Jules Erving. Other times I go with my wife, and sometimes I go alone. But very infrequently, 1 out of every 10 times, I'm going somewhere by myself. But I don't travel with a posse. I just travel with a plus one, and it's worked out. It's worked out pretty well thus far.
Now, Doc, when we talked before we got on camera, I was eye hustling and I saw a Grammy, I saw an Emmy. You are flat out flexing over at home. Talk about those achievements.
Well, it's the Emmy Award. I actually didn't get nominated for the Grammy, so that hasn't happened yet. Even though I sing in the shower, what you gonna do? But with this Emmy, it was called The Doctor, and it was really a truth telling because it came out around the same time as my autobiography. And so it was a video interpretation of my autobiography, which is true story, first person, first hand. And, I think at that time, I was already 60 years old, and I had started writing and started thinking about it since I was 40. So I was thinking about it and making moves towards it for 20 years before it actually came out. And it was very successful. It was well received. And it just reminded me of when I was in elementary school, and we had a story on Willie Mays' life, or some black athlete having his story told, while I was a youngster, and just getting me all amped up and excited, saying, "Oh man, this be a good model to follow." This guy's done pretty well for himself, and sports has been very, very good and influential in his life, and he's influential in other people's lives. So I wanted to do that documentary and for the public, and then I wanted to do the autobiography for my family because I come from a big family. My mother was one of 14 children. My father was one of 11 children, and they came from Batesburg, South Carolina. So with all those aunts and uncles and cousins and nieces and nephews, you really don't get a chance to have personal relationships with them. And as I ascended in my sports career, I would still go to family reunions. Everybody knew me, but I didn't know everybody. So when it came time to do the documentary and to write the autobiography, I wanted to give those relatives first and foremost a first person synopsis of who I thought I was and what I thought I was doing, and whether I was right, wrong, or indifferent. It was still my words and my telling of the story, and I'm pretty satisfied with that. And that's been out there for almost 20 years now.
Well, I got to ask you, when you sing in the shower, who do you sing?
I sing some Teddy Pendergrass,
There we
Okay.
go.
some Marvin Gaye,
Okay.
and so that era. And Teddy and I were friends. I was never friendly with Marvin, but you remember he sang the national anthem at that All Star game in Los Angeles, and
Flawless.
I was so amped up, man. I was MVP in that game, and I had three of my teammates playing with me because Moses was playing, and Cheeks and Bobby Jones, and we rocked the house that night. But Marvin set it off. That was awesome.
And was that the 77 NBA All-Star game?
No, 77 was Milwaukee. So this
Okay,
was
right.
like, this was 80, 80, 80, 83, 82.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was in 80 because I was at MVP in 81, and I think I was All-Star Game MVP in 83. And that was the year we won the championship. That's when we had Big Mo. That was his first year there.
Now, Doc, I know you talked a little bit about going back to the family reunions. Sometimes with my pops, we forget just the impact that he had, and sometimes we make fun of him, we mess around with him.
Hmm.
But looking at you and knowing everything that you've entailed in your career and just your life, I think of names like Ali, Kareem, Jim Brown, Aaron, just legendary people. And I grew up with your name in that same mix, Dr. J. Julius Erving. Do you get that same level of respect when you're around your family, your kids, or is it a little different at home?
I think it's different at home. I'm just dad at home, and I have four sons and three daughters, and now the youngest is 19, the oldest is 52. So, and they live between California and Philadelphia. My daughter is Atlanta, and pretty much those three locations, and Florida. And when we get together, I don't think I think they sometimes are protective of my name, face, likeness, and all that, because people are always trying to dip and do something that's to their benefit and use you in that capacity. So, that was always something we pretty much preached and taught, at home. That I'd always tell my kids, don't let your friends try to use you to get to me, because they want something. They want an autograph or a basketball, or they want some props or whatever, something that elevates them to a different level because they have a relationship with me, and I won't want my kids to be used that way. I don't want somebody to befriend them because of who their dad is or mom is, or what their family name represents in the community. So we had to protect each other, and I'm sure you and Mark, had the same situation where this just it's just something that you have to you don't want to dwell on it day in and day out. I mean, you don't want to beat it into the ground, but it has to be communicated or whatever. Hey, I'm your father first. I'm not your friend. You know, and you're my son, so I want to look out for what's in your best interest or whatever. But I'm still gonna be your father, you know. And even when we become adults, we probably never gonna be on a first name basis, you know, unless it's a show or something. You know, if it's a
Yeah.
show. You know, don't call me Julius. They call me Dad.
One of the most powerful things I've seen on TV in the last year, I don't know if you saw it or heard about it, but was the great Reggie Jackson speaking about the experiences that he faced playing baseball during tough, different times than we experience today. You being the face of basketball at a particular time where a little later, but you certainly faced some of those issues. Can you just touch on how different a time it was for you coming into the league?
For sure. So Reggie and I are friends, and we've sat down and had the conversations, even going back to the '70s when he first came to New York. I was already in New York. Arthur Ashe was one of the guys in our little group, and Bill Cosby was one of the guys in our little group. And we used to talk about the state of the country, because this was 1974, 1975, 1976. Those are the 3 years that I played for the Nets. And Reggie was Mr. October, became Mr. October during those years. So here we are, all these years later, still maintaining a friendship. Arthur's gone, of course, and Mr. Cosby's, just kind of gone a different route with his problems or whatever. But Reggie and I have maintained. As a matter of fact, we're working with Richard Dent on a business project now that's going to be released in 2024,
Wow.
and his documentary, which he came to my home here in Atlanta the same week that he came to see Hank Aaron and get Hank to participate in his documentary, and and we talked about his plight, and how he's handled things, and the fact that '70s, I mean, when people start saying, "Man, I want to go back to the good old days," you got to think about it twice, because everything wasn't good about the old days. Everything wasn't, whether it's an adult saying it or a kid or whatever. Be careful when you start saying, "Go back to the good old days," and you need to be excited about today, and you need to be excited about tomorrow, and keep that carrot out in front of you, because even though there were some good times during the good old days, everything about the good old days was not good. Especially from a civil rights standpoint, civil issues standpoint, and just the freedoms that you're guaranteed in the Constitution. You have to continuously work hard for. All right, baby. See ya. You have to continuously work hard to understand and then act on.
Talk to me about the Rucker Park days. I've heard incredible stories and documented incredible players and incredible moments. What was it
Mhm.
like back then playing at Rucker Park?
Yeah. So the good thing about Rucker Park is that I never went to Rucker Park until I became a professional. So even though I grew up in New York, I grew up in Long Island, and I traveled around the Bronx and Brooklyn, Queens, and played pickup ball, played street ball, and most of the guys who I played against, we didn't really befriend. We were kind of like barnstorming. Guys, me and some of my boys, Leon Saunders and Robert Mayrant, Ralph Burgess. We just get in a car and we go looking for games. And you probably had that same experience, where you want to go to different neighborhoods and go into the park, and and it was so funny because Brooklyn was one of the. I'll get over to answer your question in a minute about Rucker, but Brooklyn was one of the areas we went to frequently because Mayrant was from over there. Now he lived out in Long Island. He lived in Roosevelt, going to Roosevelt High School, playing on Roosevelt's team with this guy George Green, who was really a great shooter. So 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 we had one of our guys had on a T-shirt or something that said Long Island on it, or it might even said Roosevelt. Whatever. We went over there, man. We dusted off some guys, and then they were like looking, like, "Where you from, man?" Because he got that shirt on. And we said, "Yeah, we from Long Island." Long Island. We let guys from Long Island beat us. They was like freaking out, man. And and I was like, "What's wrong with Long Island?" So after my junior year at UMass, I signed with the Virginia Squires, and in going down to Virginia looking for a house, Fatty Taylor and Charlie Scott showing me around because they were the captains of the team, and then Charlie asked me about playing in the Rucker League, and Pete Bessie had a team called the West Siders. So, Charlie was on the team, Billy Paltz from St. John's, and Billy Schaefer, Ollie Taylor, me, Charlie, and then we had Hawthorne Wingo from the Knicks. Yeah, we had Hawthorne Wingo, and it was another big guy. I can't think of his name right now, but he was pretty good at it. I think Willie Sojourner might have been on our team too, because he was drafted by the Squires. So we went up there. We went in the park, man, and it was exciting. It was all it was hyped up to be. Tiny was playing there. Connie Hawkins, the guys who went to Marquette. Two guys who went to Marquette. Dean Memminger.
Team manager, yep.
Dean, because he played with you in New York, right? And
He was around, yep.
yeah, and there was another guy. Remember, there was a guy they called the Helicopter. I think his name was Herman Helicopter Knowings. He could just jump straight up. And so I guess if he took a jump shot from the corner, he probably can go catch it. And so it was an exciting time, and I did that for 5 off seasons. My first preseason, and then the next 4 off seasons, and then physically, at 21, playing on that pavement, was taking its toll on my knees. So I started wearing knee braces, and even though I wanted to be there, every Sunday and give the fans the entertainment of seeing pros play for free instead of having to go to the Garden or the Nassau Coliseum or whatever, just right out there in the park. And then all the things associated with, the fans being up on the buildings and in the trees and in the fences and, some of those pictures that are historic. And, you can't make that up. Those are real people up there hanging out and wanting to be there on those Sunday afternoons and to see those games. And so I got I got a nice rep from playing street ball, and the bringing street ball into the ABA and bringing it into the NBA, and a lot of people start saying that the Rucker League made me who I was, and that wasn't necessarily all true, but there had to be some truth to it because we had a good following there, and Rucker League got pretty good publicity, and I think the next generation of players, Kobe and guys like that, they Dominique, they all wanted to play in the Rucker League.
Right, Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and Kevin Durant. They said, "Man, I gotta go get my love from the Rucker League," and it's like you haven't really done it all until you played in that league. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Those what you really showed was that there's levels to this because there were guys that were, you know, famous first name guys like Joe Hammonds, Pee Wee
Uh-huh.
Kirkland,
Yep.
Earl Manigault, Helicopter. All of those guys, they were good, very good. But
Yeah.
when you went down there, when Wilt went down there, it
Yeah.
really put on full display that there's levels to this.
Yeah. It's Connie, and yeah, there is levels to it, and I think it's hard to compare summer league to a whole season and playoffs. Too, you play summer league. I mean, it's like right now coaching the Big Three, so that's 10 weeks out of the summer. And I got 42 weeks to do what I want to do. It's 10 weeks. I'm gonna be involved in basketball. And I got some good players. I got some former NBA players, some All Stars. Who are playing, and it's fun, and it's the NBA is kind of hating on the Big Three because it runs the same time as the WNBA, and the WNBA is an NBA property, and Big Three, is founded by Ice Cube, is black owned and operated, and I hope that they'll put the mantle down at some point in time and recognize that this is just another opportunity in basketball for players, period, who love the sport, and many of them are former NBA players, and some of them are, Hall of Fame candidates and whatever. So hopefully, Adam can change his mind about how he feels about the Big Three.
Well, one thing I will say, I came to a Big Three game that you was coaching,
Mhm.
and you wasn't just out there just hanging out, having a good time on that sideline. I saw
Yeah.
the I saw the competitive juices wanting to win and holding guys accountable.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And Steve Mix is my assistant, so if a guy give me a problem, I just tell him to go talk to Steve. He got the big shoulders, and Jules is there too. So we have fun with it, man. It's like we start in the late June, and we usually finish up by early September, and it's kind of a nice way to spend the summer and be associated with basketball because I'm probably always going to be associated with basketball in some capacity. You will too.
What was it like winning a championship in New York?
Um, well, with the Nets, where we won in '74 and '76, um, my ABA journey, when I got to the ABA, I had not seen one ABA game, and all the NBA games I saw pretty much on TV. I mean, I guess with my Salvation Army team, we probably went to the Garden a couple times, when I was very young. But yeah, so it wasn't like, you know, being first team All American and being in the draft. I wasn't really in the draft the year that I signed. I was in the draft the year after I signed. So I was already a pro for a year when the Milwaukee Bucks took me with the 12th pick. And that became a big squabble because I never played in Milwaukee. But yeah, so the championship, 74, I mean, we had a really good team. John Williamson and Brian Taylor and Willie Sojourner and Jim Akins and Tim Bassett and Rich Jones and with Billy Melchione and we had another guy from St. John. I think it was Billy Schaefer. Yeah, shooting from the corners and George Bruns. I mean that, and Kevin Lockery was the key because Kevin. Undoubtedly, he was the best coach that I ever had because I had the most success with him. And, to have it was only 3 years. We won 2 championships. I was MVP of the league 3 times in a row. Shared it with George McGinnis one of those years. And, I mean, it was just like everything, everything just fell in place the right way at the right time with the right group of people who really trusted one another. And one of the things about ABA, and it was an experience that you never had because the ABA was gone, when you came out of college. And it was one for all and all for one in the ABA. You know, all the egos were checked at the door. You know, it was like if a guy got a Sports Illustrated cover or, you know, did something, got a nice contract or whatever, everybody was happy for him, you know, and the NBA wasn't like that. And once I got over to the NBA, and the NBA is not like that now. I mean, you know, everybody's not uh, happy with what's what the accomplishments are of other individuals and the achievements are of other individuals. They, you know, they're thinking about them and, you know, getting their bag and you know, getting their name up in lights or whatever. And it's, you know, it's a lot of I, me, and what you going to do for me. And the ABA was a breath of fresh air in that capacity because it was one for all and all for one. And with all the guys from the ABA, I think when they moved over in the merger of the two leagues, they tried to bring some of that to the NBA, and it was met with resistance. And you know, it's one of those things. When I look as I look back on it, I wish there was more camaraderie, more guys going to eat together and visiting one another's homes, and you know, being in sync with one another, because it'll make for better basketball. It'll make because you know they're gonna care, and they're gonna care more when they're on the court, and a lot of them, for a lot of people, it'll bring more success their way.
Now, Doc, how did you get the name Dr. J? How did that nickname come to be?
So the doctor, you know, my buddy started calling me the doctor when I started calling him the professor, and we, you know, we were in maybe middle school, ninth grade, eighth, ninth grade, and we went to high school together, and we went to UMass together, and that was just a thing between us. I called him the professor, he called me the doctor, and when I got to the Virginia Squires, you know, they would call him the team physician, the doctor, and they would call team medical guy the doctor. They had about four people who they called the doctor. So the trainer said, "Well, you got to be Dr. J." You know, he pointed to me. He said, "You're gonna be Dr. J, and this other guy over here is Dr. M and Dr. K, and you know, so on and so forth." Even with Larry Keenan, they called him Dr. K. So, so the J piece, and the Squire started advertising me and Charlie, and Charlie was the leading scorer on the team, captain, and best player. And you know, and they said Charlie the Great Scott and Julius Dr. J. Erving, and then they made banners and they made posters and you know put it up in lights in little old Virginia Beach where we were hanging out, and so the Dr. J piece and the legacy of Dr. J was born in Virginia Beach.
That's awesome.
Now, one thing for me, you mentioned being drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks. You actually had the first opportunity to be part of the first Big Three, and you decided not to. You could have been a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, joining Lou Alcindor, which we know as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
Mhm.
and the great Oscar Robertson.
Yeah,
What went into that decision?
yeah. My agent, who was also Clyde Frazier's agent, Erwin Weiner, and whatever, and he personally was against it. He wanted me to come to New York, and the choice was uh, after 2 years with the Virginia Squires. You know, the draft happened, and now Milwaukee has my rights, and I had in my back pocket, thanks to Irwin, we had a contract with the Atlanta Hawks. So I was trying to go from Virginia to Atlanta, you know, and Atlanta at that time, man, I mean, you know, it was 1970, 71, 72. Atlanta was booming. I mean, it was a place for black people to be, I mean, with jobs and education, you know, with schools, you know, with Clark and Morris Brown and you know, Atlanta, Atlanta versus Milwaukee, it was a question of lifestyle. It wasn't a question of being Big Three or anything like that. And they had a great team. They got Bobby Dandridge in the mix, and you know they won that title while they were there. So maybe it would have brought me an NBA title that much earlier. But I really physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually wanted to be in Atlanta. And I didn't go to the Squires camp. I went to camp in Atlanta, and it was me, Maravich, Lou Hudson, Walt Bellamy, Don Adams. And that was the team right there. And
You
Cotton
were slick,
Fitzsimmons.
Doc. You were
Cotton
slick. You
Fitzsimmons.
actually played a couple of exhibition games with Pistol Pete.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, we played like a couple of exhibition games. We were scoring like 135, 140. Playing with Pete was awesome, man. He was getting 30, I was getting 30. You know, Lou Hudson was go get his points. And Bellamy was like, "What y'all want me to do? Just rebound? Y'all need to pass me the ball." so, and Cotton Fitzsimmons was coaching the team. He liked to run. He liked to push it. So that was my style of play. And, you know, and I was still playing Rucker League in the summer, but NBA shut it down, man. They shut it down. They said we're gonna find every time you play him, it's gonna cost y'all $25,000. And the owner was a billionaire. He could have played that $25,000. He was like, no, I ain't paying no $25,000. You gotta sit down. So they sat me down, man, for like 3 games. I didn't even play. I was on the bench. I didn't even play. So I went back to Virginia. I was like, I see y'all, man. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. And I finished the season in Virginia. And then they worked a deal between the Virginia Squires owner and the Nets owner. And the Nets team was born. You know, me and John Williamson and Brian and, you know, those guys, man. And we got the gold that first year that I was there. We got knocked out the second year to Freddie Lewis and Marvin Barnes and those gangsters down in St. Louis. They had
Starving
Maurice
Marvin.
Lucas. They had Maurice Lucas too. And then the next year, then we won the championship again. So that was yeah. I mean, in terms of my basketball life, you know, I mean, I'm sure you have a period where, you know, Indiana or New York, where you say these years were better than those years or whatever, probably because of the people we played with and, you know, how they responded to you as a person. And, you know, it wasn't just like, I love them. You know, there's a difference between liking and loving.
Amen.
And I love those Nets teams. I mean, I like my Philadelphia teams, but I love the Nets teams.
Well, you had a lot of freedom with Kevin Lowry and that Nets team.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, we had isolations. We had plays specifically that were catered to my skills, and you know, they know I could always beat a guy one on one. Now, you know, after you beat a guy one on one, you become a scorer or a playmaker. And they knew I was willing to pass the ball. So if they didn't recover early enough, then and I think uh, that responsibility breeds confidence, and success breeds confidence too. So we were successful with it, and those years, and the irony of all that, all these years later, Kevin Lockery and I are members of the same golf club. So I still see him, you know, I still see him with all respect to Al Bianchi, who was the coach of Virginia, and Billy Cunningham, who coached me at Philly. You know, Kevin was my guy, man. He knew he knew how to play me.
Now, Doc, what was a young Charles Barkley like? And did you know that he was going to be special?
Yeah. Well, I didn't see the whole package until uh, really after I left. You know, I mean, there was definitely a transition because we played together 3 years.
Mhm.
So the first year he came in, and we were you know we were the champions. He came in the year after we won the championship. So with our starting lineup, we had Mark Ivoroni in there, 6'10", white guy who's from New York, and he was a good fit because you didn't have to run any plays for him, you know. And so that all changed real fast because Charles was going to be the power forward, and he almost killed Mark one day in practice. I mean, you know, he just got beneath him under the basket, and he backed him all the way up to the foul line. He backed him all the way up to the foul line. I was like, I ain't never seen nothing like that, you know. And then he went and got the rebound. So it was like, well, you gotta play him. You gotta play him. And then he would get when he got rebounds, he'd just take off. He'd just take off. So we knew he was raw, but I didn't know he was gonna be as good as he ultimately was. And me, him, and Moses played together, but we never got the chemistry that we had before that. You know, because, you know, I guess all three of us needed the ball. and Cheeks was like, "Damn, I give it to him, you mad? And I give it to him, you mad? And I give it to him, both of y'all mad at me." So that was kind of rough. You know how that is, Mark. You point guard.
Absolutely, with high maintenance scorers.
You giving somebody that rock too much, somebody's getting a little twisted, right? They're gonna put a word in your ear. They're like, why are you giving him all the ball? They're giving him the ball all the time. Like, are we a team or what? Or what? You know?
Absolutely.
The guy capable of doing something with it, right?
But you mentioned Moses. Acquiring Moses changed the game for you guys in Philly, didn't it?
Yeah, it got us. Well, we were already getting to the finals. We got to the finals 3 times without Moses, and we just couldn't get over the hump. We just and that last time in '82, because we went there 77, we went there 80, 82, 83. So we went there 4 times in 7 years. And those 3 times, 77, 80, and 82, man, after 82, you know, my heart was broken because I was just like, you know, we had Darryl, Caldwell, Harvey Catchett. So we had 3 centers. So it was center by committee. We had Andrew, Tony, and Maurice in the backcourt, and me and Bobby Jones up front with I think Jelly Bean was coming off the bench there. So anyway, yeah, my heart was broken, man. I was just like, this ain't gonna happen. You know, we win these 2 ABA championships. They're gonna have to suffice. But you know, if you play in the NBA, you don't win the NBA championship. There's a stigma associated with it. You one of those guys. You know, you're on that list of guys who, yeah, you were great and everything, but you never won the championship. So I actually was over in Israel with Bobby and Pat Williams, and we were over there on a spiritual journey, which was really nice. And prayer got answered because we got a phone call from Pat from the Sixers office, and we had ML Carr was with us, so you know he always talked a lot of smack, whatever. And when that phone call came in, they said we got Moses Malone. He turned white as a ghost. Y'all got who? Y'all got who? He said, "Uh-oh, we in trouble now." So he recognized it, and that day, man, that day was monstrous because yeah, Mo came in ready to work, ready to play. And he hadn't won the ABA or the NBA championship, so he was championship less, but
Right.
he got a couple MVPs, and from the first day of training camp, I mean Maurice said that first day of training camp after that first practice. he knew we were gonna win. He said any team you put on the court against us, we can beat. So we know we can beat them at least once. If you can beat them once, you can beat them 4 times. And so he knew. I didn't know. I didn't know, man, because I was like, my feelings was hurt, and I've been chasing this thing 6 years and going to 3 finals 6 years, and it's like, man, maybe it wasn't meant to be. But as we rolled, I mean, we started. We'd have those first halves. We'd be up like 25, man, at halftime, and fourth quarter. I know I don't remember a season in much we saw the starters sit down in the fourth quarter as much as with that team, and everybody else got a chance to play. So that kept them happy, and yeah, that was a unique season, man. That was unique. And then 12-1 in the playoffs. 4-4-4.
Absolutely.
One loss to Milwaukee. Yep. So when it rained, it poured for us. Fortunately. Yeah.
But take me back to, I always thought about this as a kid watching. In 77 in the finals, you guys lose, but you have the possession to close it out, and the play comes out of the huddle, and it's for the great George McGinnis. I'm thinking as a kid, we got to get the ball to Doc. Tell me what you're thinking about as you know the play is about to be attempted to be executed.
Yeah. So we won the first 2 games, and then we lost the next 3. But during the 3 that we lost, George kind of came out of a slump. He was in a slump, and he came out, and so now we're playing this game in Portland. We're trying to get it 3-3, so we play the 7th game in Philly, and that particular game, the 5th game, man, I had like 40. I had 40 in the game, and George and Doug Collins we played well enough to play even with them, and Doug was our best shooter by far. He shot better than me and George. We were both kind of unorthodox. I could score, and George could score, but we didn't count ourselves as great shooters. So we get over to the huddle, and I'm clearly thinking, because I think it's a 1 or 2 point game, I'm clearly thinking, all right, we're going to run a play for Doug. And it's buzzing in the huddle because, George is kind of looking for the ball to redeem himself. And Doug's looking for the ball. So there's 2 guys already looking for the ball. And I'm going to vote for Doug. So, I was taking myself out of that equation. And it's really his coach's call. He's supposed to say, well, here's what we're going to do. It's not by committee,
right,
and everything. And so I wasn't all that impressed with what we were deciding to do, because it was more like George is going to take the shot and you crash the boards. Caldwell crashed the boards. So you're already saying the shot is going to be missed. If you're saying crash the boards, right? So I mean, to this day, I don't know why that happened. And it didn't mean that we were going to win the series or anything, because we were down 3-2. But we could have forced the 7th game, and could have tied it up, got it to overtime or whatever. Instead of watching Bill Walton taking his shirt off, celebrating there in Portland, man. I was like, welcome to the NBA. and we weren't picked to go to the finals,
Right.
our team came together pretty quickly. I think we won like 55, 57 games, and then the playoffs. We had decent run. We climbed some hurdles, but that was '77, bro. A long time ago.
Absolutely.
Now,
Yeah.
now, Doc, coming to today's game, who are some of your favorite players to watch?
Okay. So load management has messed me up because Kawhi was my guy.
Uh-huh.
San Antonio and Toronto. I'm in Kawhi's corner.
Yeah.
Then this load management stuff happened. I mean, he playing like every fourth game. I'm like, what the hell happened to my guy? He says, what happened to 82 games, man? And and he was a little different anyway because I spent some time with him at that NBA 75th and whatever.
Hmm.
He's just kind of quiet and
Hmm.
whatever. And so Mikal Bridges is my guy now.
Okay.
Yeah, Bridges. I'm gonna go with Bridges to have a comeback year. You know that because he was, I mean, with the Nets
Yeah.
or with Arizona. Yeah, so he kind of established himself, never missed games, and I
Hmm.
like that style of guy. Got to play every night. Your toes hurting. Don't mean you need to miss the game because your toes hurt. So I liked him, and then came to New York, and probably second half of the season he fell off. Um, but Brunson was spectacular. Um, he was with the Knicks, but yeah, Mikal was with the Nets, and he kind of fell off the second half. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I'm expecting him to uh, come back next year and just have a great year. I think Philly's going to have a great year. I mean, I think Joel's going to be Joel. I'd like to see a little more balance in in their attack because Maxi's awesome, man. Maxi
Hmm.
Maxi Maxi should have the ball. He should have the ball. He should run the show. And anytime there's a need for scoring, he can do that. But he's got to get Joel and Paul George uh, in the right positions and give them the ball at the right time. Let them do what they do because they're basically. I mean, they could either do spot up or they can do isolations because both of them are capable of taking their guys on the dribble or whatever. And Maxi can do the same thing. I mean, when he's running downhill, there's very few people who can stay with him. So that's going to be their big three. And I don't mind seeing Joel's numbers come down to keep Paul in the game on the offensive side. When they had Tobias, lots of times he just got lost in the shuffle. I mean, there'd be like 12 possessions, he wouldn't even touch the ball. So, and then it's his fault. And I don't think they're gonna do that with Paul George. And I wish Tobias well in Detroit. I think he'll be fine. But I mean, the stars are the stars: Jokic and Durant and uh, let's see, Curry. Um,
And let
there's
me
a guy
ask.
named LeBron. There's a guy named LeBron out there. There's a guy named LeBron out there. He don't look like he going anywhere.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he is, man. I just think in terms of the ways in which guys can preserve themselves these days, because I've seen, a lot of the machines and gadgetry and stuff like that, and also the will. I mean, obviously you got to have the will to want to play, and you're very usually incentivized by the money. Not like you're making $2 million a year and you could leave the game and go make $2 million a year somewhere. Then you making 40, 50, or whatever. You ain't gonna go nowhere and make that. So you're incentivized to stay as long as possible. And yeah, I mean, there's obviously a physical risk because once you get out, the wear and tear on your body is what it is. I mean, it takes a toll. I played till I was 37, and I felt very fortunate that once I got out, I could enjoy playing basketball probably 5, 6 years. And I played basketball until I was probably in my early 40s. But if I had been playing an NBA schedule, I couldn't see doing that. I couldn't see doing it. So
Do you have an answer if somebody was to ask you who is the greatest basketball player you've ever seen?
the greatest that I've ever seen. Well, some of them guys who lit me up in high school, they were pretty good. It was I can't think of this guy's name, man. You know how after your senior year and you play in a tournament and you get invited to play in these tournaments. So I got to play in this tournament over in Connecticut, and this guy, he went to Marshall and then he went to the Boston Celtics. You might know him better than me. But he ran through us, man, like he was a buzzsaw. I said, who is this? Who is this guy right here? And Billy Chamberlain, I mean, you know who Billy Chamberlain is?
Yes.
Yeah, he went to Long Island Lutheran or whatever. Then he went to North Carolina. He ran through us too. That was when I was 6'3", 160. But yeah, so I mean, I've had moments with guys and on the court with them and just had that ultimate respect where I'm like, this guy's really good, man. I can't touch him or whatever. But as a pro, you're kind of conditioned to not put anybody that far ahead of you. And Kareem was always the guy standing in my way. I was always in his shadow because of the years in which we played and we overlapped. And we didn't. I mean, in my ABA years, he was in the NBA, but then in my NBA years, he was there every one of my NBA years. So any individual recognitions that I got, I always felt that's when I got him. I got some recognition that he didn't get because I was the MVP and he wasn't. And so personally, that was the guy who I look at as probably the GOAT.
Now, I don't know if you heard recently, we got a couple more questions. We certainly appreciate you being generous with your time. But I don't know if Anthony Edwards for the Minnesota Timberwolves talked about
Yeah,
the talent gap
I heard
between the
him.
guys in the 90s and the guys back in the day. Your thoughts on not just 90s, but 80s, 70s? There were some great players historically that we can't disrespect.
Oh man, come on. Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Elgin Baylor, who was my favorite. My personal favorite was Elgin Baylor, and Jerry West. And if you just take those five right there, or whatever, you put Anthony Edwards on the court with them, or whatever, he would change his opinion. He would change his opinion. Obviously, he's a guy he didn't see the '60s and the '70s. He just heard about it. He didn't see the '80s. I mean, he's feeling himself, and he's awfully good. I mean, I like watching him play.
Absolutely.
I like watching him play, but is he from? He's from Georgia, right?
Yes.
He's from Georgia because I know he went to Georgia
Yes.
a year or two, and he's from Georgia. So there's something about when you're from the urban when you're an urban basketball player like a New Yorker or you DC or whatever, you tend to have more respect because you see more.
Mm-hmm.
You see more guys who are as good as you or better than you. You know, I saw a lot of guys better than me when I was coming up, but it just made me drive to be better. And maybe he hasn't had that experience where he played in middle school, high school, or even college, where there were guys better than him. So it's going to be a rude awakening, and you know, it's coming. It kind of came this year, too, when you started mouthing off, and suddenly y'all going home. You can't do nothing about it. You can't do nothing about it. So I mean, I like him, but he's got a lot to learn.
I'll tell you your impact, a quick funny story. Working for ESPN, we'd go to dinner before, after every game, and I worked with Lisa Salters, Jeff Van Gundy, and Mike Breen.
Yeah.
We go to dinner, so I called Lisa. I said, I'm going to dinner. She said, who you going with? I said, I got a friend named Dr. Mark Jenkins, who's out of Dallas, a legendary heart doctor out of Dallas. And we call him Dr. J. So I tell Lisa, I'm going to dinner with Dr. J. Lisa's like, I'll meet you there. She comes an hour later, most beautiful dress you ever want to see, hair done, makeup done, lipstick done. She thought I was bringing you, not my friend, Dr. J. She was so disappointed, man.
Oh, man.
But the impact that you have is not just on the court. You are greatness personified on and off the floor, and we absolutely salute you for all you've done and continue to do for not just basketball, but for folks that look like us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Just seeing you and your son, right there on the screen or whatever. I'm so proud of y'all, and I'm so happy that y'all are able to organize this and do it at the level that you're doing it, and it seems like it's just natural to you. But I know it takes a whole lot of work, a whole lot of preparation, and you made it happen. It's not something that was just given to you.
Well, speaking of preparation and work, last thing for me, you averaged 26 and 20 at UMass, and I believe you're wearing canvas sneakers?
Hell yeah. I love my canvas. What you talking about, Willis? We were playing on wooden floors, so canvas and wood go together. Now that canvas, when you hit it on the asphalt, it's that asphalt starts eating up the canvas.
Right.
You need some leather then, and you need some other type of rubber. But yeah, that 28-20, and in the 2 years I had 20-something and 20. Yeah, so it's
crazy.
Yeah, when you play with guys who shoot crooked, you get a lot of rebounds.
Shots fired.
I had one guy, John Bencourt. He was a good shooter. Mike Pagliara and John Bencourt. They were the backcourt, and they took the shots, and I got the rebounds. And so it was interesting because they were both pretty good. They both Jersey guys, and we used to joke about it. I said, y'all come out here jacking it up. Sometime I ain't gonna be able to get these rebounds. then we lost a game to Springfield College because they were putting it up, and I wasn't getting the rebounds. And the score was like 61-60, and it was the first time the school had ever lost to Springfield College. So I was like, it's their fault. Right there.
Wow.
Finger right on those guys. Yeah.
Well, Doc, we certainly thank you and salute you for all you've done. Continued blessings, and thank you for taking the time out to join us on the Mark Jackson Show. Salute to you and all you continue to do, my friend.
Yeah,
Thank you,
see you sooner than later, both of y'all.
Thanks again to the great Dr. J, man. That was awesome. Shout out to our sponsors, Underdog Fantasy. Go ahead and click the link in the description and use that promo code MARK. They're matching a first-time deposit of up to $1,000, and you can also get a special pick. That's the promo code MARK. Also, we got the hand down, man down merchandise is here, y'all. It's here. Go ahead and go to thatman.store. Once again, that's thatman.store to get your merchandise right now. Go check it out, y'all.
And a special shout out to my middle son, who's the creative director for all the gear you're able to purchase. Did a wonderful job designing and coming up with the ideas. Thank you so much for the support. Remember, I was a head coach of the Golden State Warriors for 3 years, and we had principles that we lived by. The most important one, no excuses, individually or collectively. My best player, Steph Curry, battled foot problems for over a year, didn't make any excuses, but went on to make history as a team and Steph Curry as an individual. Think about this. One of the most accomplished people I ever met in my life is my best friend, and he's paralyzed from the waist down. Absolutely no excuses. Steve Harvey, one of the greatest television hosts of all times, found a way to get it done. That same Steve Harvey is one of the greatest radio personalities of all time. And that same Steve Harvey flunked out of school because of an embarrassing stuttering problem. No excuses. No excuses. Now let me deal with you. Whatever it is, make no more excuses. Make history. Blessings.